everybody, I am Jarrett Ross, the Genie Vlogger, and welcome back to another Professional Genealogist Reacts. On today's video, I will be watching We Take a Best Friend DNA Test from Good Mythical Morning. Now, I'm super excited for this because I'm kind of a fan of Good Mythical Morning, and for those who don't know, I'm actually based in North Carolina, but I had found out that they not only were from North Carolina, but they had actually lived in Cary, North Carolina. Funny enough, I always thought Link kind of looked like this guy that I remember working at TGI Fridays, and I was watching one of their episodes, and they started talking about that exact same TGI Fridays, which is in Cary, right next to a Walmart, where you could like look right at the Walmart from there. And I remember thinking, I wonder if that was Link who worked at Fridays, because that'd be absolutely crazy. Although he didn't mention working there, so maybe it was someone else. But still really cool they were in the same small town that I was in North Carolina. But anyway, for their ancestry, I don't really know what their ancestral background is. I assume it's some sort of European ancestry. I did notice this video is from 2015, which means that these are really old results, and it's a guarantee that they've changed since then, but that means that they're probably lacking any of the genealogy communities or the genetic communities, which are probably the best part of the admixtures now because they're the most genealogically relevant. But I'm really not going to talk too much, but before we do jump into the video, please be sure to give this a thumbs up. That really does help me out. Also, be sure to subscribe and click that bell for notifications on future videos. With all that fun stuff said, let's jump into the video.
Today is National Best Friend Day. Link, and you're my best friend. Am I your best friend? You gonna do, what kind of shake was about to happen there? You were going to shake my right hand with your left hand. That's what was going to happen.
That's because my wife is my best friend.
That's very disappointing. My wife is also my best friend.
No, Rhett, you're my best friend.
We've been best friends since first grade. But Link, I hate to break it to you that based on some recent science that has been done, we may be best friends simply because of our genes, brother. And I don't mean the fact that we both wear skinny jeans. I mean genetics. A recent study out of Yale University says that your best friends are very likely to have DNA that is similar to yours. They studied 2,000 people and found on average friends share about 1% of the same genes, while strangers share almost nothing. And that may not sound like a lot, but 1% is the same amount of genes that you would share.
I don't know why, but that study sounds odd. I'd like to check out that study because it's like there's a lot of relatives I've found that I didn't know that were strangers. So I don't know. I mean, I guess it, you know, if you look at all strangers, but still.
Share with someone who is your fourth cousin.
So somehow we magically, genetically know who we want to be friends with because our genes are the same?
No, I don't know exactly. This isn't a, this is not a correlation thing. This is simply a correlation. We don't understand the causes necessarily. They're exploring those things. This is, what they find is that people who are best friends have similar DNA. Incidentally, we actually have had our DNA sequenced.
We have a way to test this today for us.
And that sounds like something that I would be making up and then would tell you, obviously
I guess back in 2015, DNA tests, or at least consumer DNA tests, weren't as well known. So maybe that's kind of what they're getting at. Although I feel like in 2015, at least in the genealogy community, it was super well known that you could do DNA testing. So I was told that they took actual DNA tests. I was worried when I first saw the title of We Take a Best Friend DNA Test, because there are a lot of different companies and third-party sites and stuff out there that try to do all this different stuff. Like, I know I was contacted by a company that wanted to sponsor some of my videos that did like relationship matching based on DNA, but I was like, yeah, no thank you. But I'm curious which way they're going to come at this, whether they're going to look at, their admixture, their percentages of ethnicity to see, oh, is there a correlation there? Or they are actually going to like see if they have shared DNA, like an actual percentage in the matching. So that's what I'm hoping they're getting at, but I guess we'll have to see.
Being sarcastic and also not being able to speak. But no, we actually submitted our spit to a website called 23andMe last year. And at that time...
Not a sponsor, but yeah, we were just very interested in having our DNA analyzed.
Well, my wife got it as a gift for me because I've always wanted to like see what's up about me,
Oh, Rhett and Link, if you guys want to have your family trees traced by a professional genealogist, I would love to have you on my series where I'm tracing family trees of all sorts of YouTubers. So like I've looked at Mr. Beat, I've looked at Matt Baker from Useful Charts, I've looked at Sam Aronow, and I'm also looking into a whole bunch of other YouTubers, but I would love to help you guys trace your family trees, look into that, and then I'd release episodes where you could really learn the in-depth stories of your family history. So that'd be awesome to have you on my channel. So if you really want to learn about you and your history, hit me up. All right, let's keep going.
That's a good question. I've been asking the same question.
Why am I the way that I am?
Right.
And then
I was
she did it. She learned some crazy stuff about her family. The time for another episode. Then you got it, and you learned some things.
Did they actually talk about that on an episode? Because if they did, comment below with a link to that episode, because I'd love to react to that, or at least that part where they talk about that, because I always love to see stories like that, and I'd love to do reactions to it.
So if you're going to do it, I'm going to do it. So that's the first reason we're friends, is because we both get our DNA analyzed.
But here's the thing about 23andMe, which, again, not a sponsor, but...
Not a sponsor!
It's a cool service. But
this scared the crap out of Lizzie over there.
The thing that is unfortunate at this point is the FDA passed this, or basically banned them from giving you your health trait.
Oh yeah, there was a while where you could not get any DNA tests with like health trait stuff because that was actually banned. So I don't know if anyone remembers that super well. I'm sure a lot of the older genealogists, but people who've just gotten into it more recently, I can't remember when they stopped doing that, but. Yeah, that's crazy. I kind of forgot about that.
Data.
Right.
You can only get ancestry information, but you know what? We got in before the ruling, and so we've got all our health trait information, and we're going to share it publicly on the internet today.
We're sharing our banned genetic information with you.
But what we're doing is we're going to talk a little bit about some of the results that we had and see how they compare to see if this is actually true. Real world tests.
First of all, I am 99.9% European, mostly British, and...
Should I clap for that?
No.
I don't know.
You shouldn't. It seems
weird. I just wanted to clap.
Maybe wrong. 63.9% Irish.
Oh, I think it's 63.9%
British and Irish.
Yes.
That's what I meant.
Do you need me to help you interpret your data correctly?
My genes don't...
I'm actually loving that Link's like, no. It's British and Irish. Because that is something that like a lot of people will do. They'll see one of those ones where it's like 3 different countries listed in a row and they'll focus on just one of the countries and be like, oh, so I must be that one. But it's really just, all those countries share so much DNA that it's like, we're not even going to try to separate it out. It's just too difficult because both population groups have a lot of the same DNA signatures.
Allow me to understand my
You're not 63.9% Irish. You're from the British Isles, 63.9%. Incidentally, this is similar. I'm similar, but I am only 98% European because, whoop, whoop, I am 1.3% Sub-Saharan African, Link.
Interesting. I wonder if he still has that 1.3% African, because back in 2015, I mean, there was a lot less of the studies that are being used now. And if that 1.3% is gone at this point, it was probably, a trace result. Back then, trace results really were like 5% or below. Nowadays, trace results would be more 2-3%. And just to define trace result, that just means a percentage that's on the lower end, and because of that there's a low confidence that it is true. Doesn't mean it's false, but it just means that there's a low confidence that it is true. So if that 1.3% is still around in his admixture, or even better, it's gotten bigger, that may be indicative of an actual African ancestor in his family tree. And if that is true at 1.3%, then you're looking at like a 3rd, 4th, 5th great grandparent about there. I go through this every video, but you get 50% from your parents, 25% from grandparents, 12.5% from great grandparents, 6.25% from second great grandparents, and then 3 point whatever percent from third, and then so on. So it just keeps going half. So at 1%, you're mostly at about a 4th great generation or back. But if that is still around and he wanted to see if he could find that in his family tree, he'd want to try to trace to every single one of his 3rd and 4th great grandparents. And if he's missing anything up there, or one of them's a mystery, that may be where this African ancestry lies in his family tree. And to give an idea of 4th great grandparents, I think he's about my age, but generally people about my age, my generation, who have 4th great grandparents, they're usually born about late 1700s, maybe early 1800s. So that means that his most recent African ancestor, if he does have one that recent, I mean, technically everyone has one. I get those comments all the time. We know that from haplogroups, but just speaking of autosomal SNP DNA tests, which is just the past few hundred years, which is a 23andMe test that's an autosomal SNP DNA. But that would be about when we'd be expecting him to have an African ancestor. So if we can trace his family tree back to the 1700s and that African percentage is correct, we may be able to find where it's coming from. But he also mentioned that there was 2% that wasn't European, so I'm wondering if he'll mention what that other 0.7% is. So let's continue.
Here's where it gets a little bit weird, because there are these things called haplogroups, basically DNA families traced back to like some genetic mutation that occurred in a certain place in time in both your mom and dad's lineage. Link?
It's where Bruce will show me back. What's haploing?
Yeah, probably not.
And that's where it came from.
On my dad's side, I am a member of R1, B1, B2, A1, A2,
And for anyone out there who does a lot of this haplogroup work and knows a lot about this kind of stuff, R1B1 is one of the most common haplogroups. I will not be surprised if Link also has this haplogroup, or at least is part of the R1B1 family.
F2.
On my dad's side, I am a member of group R1, B1, B2, A1, A2, F2.
What? That's so crazy!
Which means that they must be related on their paternal line sometime in the past few thousand years, meaning you trace up their father's line, and eventually you will find a common paternal ancestor for both of them. But when you're talking about haplogroups, you're talking about at least hundreds of years ago, but more often than not, you're usually talking about thousands of years ago. So they'd need to do more in-depth SNP DNA testing. What they are looking at right here is just a very, very, very basic version. But doing Y-DNA tests through family tree DNA, that would actually give them a better idea of how closely related they are patrilineally. But it really could be like 2,000 or 3,000 years back that their most recent shared ancestor is up that line.
We're both members of R1, B1, B2, A1, A2, F2. That should be super exciting. It's not that exciting. This is the most common haplogroup in Western Europe. But it's still pretty
But it's
awesome.
a reason to be friends.
We're in the same haplogroup.
It's a reason to be friends. Let's move on to Neanderthal Ancestry. They can tell you how much of your DNA is from Neanderthal.
Yeah. Mine is 2.7%. I'm in the 42nd percentile among European users.
I've got an estimated 2.9%. I am in the 84th percentile of people with that much Neanderthal in them.
You know what?
Me beat you.
Yes.
You make fire, me make more fire.
This so
84
much.
percentile.
This has cleared up so much about my experience with Link. He's more of a caveman than I am.
Me got heavy eyebrow ridge.
Okay, now we're going to get into some
Long, low, bigger skull.
some different traits
Skull.
that they're able to tell these different things, like the way that your genes will be manifested into an actual trait.
Okay.
Like, for instance, we're both likely to be lactose tolerant, which is true. We drink milk all the time. We both have typical pain sensitivity. Why don't you pinch my arm?
Only friends would do this, by the way. Why don't you pinch my arm, buddy?
Just pinch my arm.
Let's pinch arms at the same time. I'm mildly sensitive to that.
That's uncomfortable to me, but not.
I'm going harder.
More than a typical amount.
I'm pinching as hard as I can, Neil.
I feel like I'm going to pierce your skin.
Ooh, it's hurting.
Yeah, me too. But it's hurting the same because we have typical.
I'm giving you a little fingernail now.
Oh, no, don't do it. Just fingernail.
Okay. Yep. Oh, that hurt. I would say I'm very tolerable to pain.
Well, you're typical.
Well, my genes say that.
How about this? Male pattern baldness, Link. I have typical odds, but congratulations, Neanderthal. You have decreased odds.
Me got hair everywhere, growing. My hairline grow.
You're not gonna be bald, but it's a good thing this is a wig. I'm gonna be okay. Okay, do you smell,
restrooms?
when you eat asparagus and you pee, do you smell the aspartic acid? Because that's a genetic trait.
I don't
I
think
do
so.
smell that. You don't?
I don't. Maybe
If you don't know, you don't. Because if you do, you do. I eat one thing of asparagus. It's like it's an asparagus factory out of that urinal, man.
it smells like asparagus
It smells like a type of asparagus mixed with urine.
Maybe we shouldn't be friends.
These last two we're going to test right here, okay?
Okay.
Cilantro aversion. This is, if you have cilantro aversion, you think cilantro tastes like soap. Here's your cilantro.
I hate cilantro. It's really, really, really bitter to me.
Cilantro cone. And here's my cilantro cone. We could sell these at the state fair.
Now,
$6.
I will say that I haven't loved cilantro, but I've never thought about what it tastes like on its own.
Right.
So this is a legitimate test.
All right. Get a lot. It is a little soapy.
No. Definitely soapy. Like, nothing but soap. Like,
Nothing but soap?
like bar of soap. Like, I said naughty words and my grandma shoved a bar of soap in my mouth.
Yeah, and that's not happening to me. A little soapy, but not a lot of soapy. It says that our earwax type should be wet, which is honey, colored, and sticky.
Which is honey, very sticky.
Now, I don't usually have a lot of this because
Where is my ear hole? Can you help me find it?
I use
somewhere
Q-tips.
under this flap of hair.
No, we don't recommend this. You're not supposed to use Q-tips like this. I don't have a lot of wax in my ear typically. That's not wax. That was something else.
What, trash?
No, it was something from the cilantro still on my fingers. But I should be able to get something honey colored out of here. Yeah, look, there's a little bit. There's a little bit of honey colored. Oh, look, you honey colored.
But not much. Sometimes I can get like a continent.
But
out of there.
it's not grayish yellow and flaky. Right, you're hurting yourself over there. Don't make that face. That's unpleasant.
That's the face I make when I pluck nose hairs too.
Pull it out and tell me that it's the same color.
Oh!
All right.
That is pleasant, buddy.
And you know what? This is why we're best friends.
Cheers. Here, you eat mine, I'll eat yours.
Okay,
So analyze your DNA with your friends, or just know that you probably have some haplo thing going on. I don't know what the application is, because you can't even go on the website and they tell you this information anymore. Lobby your congressman.
Your ancestry.
Lobby your congressman.
Oh, this is going to become a political thing?
And thanks for liking and commenting on this video.
You know what time it is.
Okay, that was a decent video. A little bit disappointing because they really didn't dive that deep into the ancestral stuff at all. Like, they barely even covered the ethnicity admixture, only basically talking about their British and Irish and then that small percentage of African. They showed that old 23andMe ring that they used to do. I think maybe they still do it like that, but a little bit differently. But we didn't get to see the actual breakdown, which would have been interesting. And I was also really hoping that they were going to see, do they actually match on DNA? I'm guessing they probably didn't, because I imagine if they did, they'd be like, we actually share DNA. But they didn't do it. It's possible they may not have known how to look into that, because 23andMe, you have to opt in to be in the matching stuff, and if one of them didn't do it, they wouldn't have been able to see. But even if they did both do it and they did match, it might be really distant, and they'd have to look for each other to be able to see. So it didn't quite even go into any of the stuff that I was kind of hoping it would based on the title, but I mean, it kind of was what I was expecting in some ways. This is an old video from 2015, over 7 years old, so their DNA is definitely updated, and I'd be curious if maybe they've had any update videos since this. As I said in the reaction, it would be absolutely awesome to have Rhett and or Link be a guest on my series YouTuber Family Trees. I'd love to be able to trace their family trees, and being that I live in North Carolina, I know where a lot of the records are held and where I can go to search for stuff. And especially with the fact that I grew up in Cary and they both used to live in Cary and hang out around Cary, probably Kildare Farm area. That's just kind of a cool connection. So it's like, come on, hit up your boy in the 919. But for anyone that wants to learn more about that haplogroup stuff that they were talking about, be sure to check out my reaction to Massaman's haplogroup map of the world right here. And thank you for watching. I'm the Genie Vlogger. See you in my next video.